This is a guy who, from the time he got into the league until 2020, was in the NBA Finals 10 times. In the last 6 years, since 2020, he's been in the NBA Finals 0 times. That is a huge swing. 10 times in 17 years, and then 0 times in the last 5 or 6 years. That is a big difference. And to know that for the bulk of your career, the NBA Finals were almost the LeBron James Invitational, and then you were just out of it.
LeBron James has made a decision that critics are already calling the ultimate admission. If he wants another championship, he needs serious help, a favorable path through the Eastern Conference, and a situation built to win right now. And Rachel Nichols raised the question, sitting right in the middle of this whole conversation. She didn't completely go after LeBron, but she brought up something basketball fans can't just brush aside. Why Philadelphia? Why now? And why does LeBron suddenly appear so hungry to compete for another championship after spending years talking about happiness, family, and life beyond basketball?
Well, I was as surprised as I think everyone else was. I thought Philadelphia was kind of in last place of the options that he was looking at. And I think either it's going to work spectacularly or it's going to be a failure. I'm not sure there's a ton of room in the middle, but we'll find out. I applaud him knowing what he wanted and going after it. I don't know how much buy-in he has from everybody else on that roster.
Nichols pointed to one stat that makes this whole debate hit differently. From the start of LeBron's career through 2020, he reached the NBA Finals 10 times. 10 finals appearances in 17 seasons is wild, no matter where anybody ranks him historically. But since 2020, 0 finals appearances. That's not some tiny dip that people can casually ignore. That's a major shift. For nearly 2 decades, LeBron and the NBA Finals almost went hand in hand. Love him or hate him, everybody expected him to be somewhere in that picture. For years, he was the dude teams had to get past. Then suddenly, that expectation vanished. And the argument critics are pushing is that age isn't the only reason. They point toward the conference, stronger competition, and eventually LeBron no longer having the same level of control over the direction of his team.
I am much more interested in what the conversations with Jaylen Brown were, first of all, on the way into Philly, and maybe it was just when the trade happened with Boston, hey, we are going to extend you, and that was enough. And the fact that he would have these 2 guards, young guards, and Joel, and that all felt good to him. Now that LeBron's there, and it's going to be just a different level of oxygen for everybody involved. I believe that LeBron is going into this level of sacrifice with his eyes wide open, but everybody has to.
Now look at Philadelphia, because this is where things get spicy. On paper, this looks like the kind of setup that could make sense for LeBron if another championship is the main goal. You've got Joel Embiid, assuming he can stay healthy. You've got Tyrese Maxey, an established young star and one of the league's most dangerous guards. You've got VJ Edgecombe, a young player with the potential to bring defense, athleticism, and versatility. Then you drop LeBron James into the middle of that mix. That's not LeBron showing up to rescue some hopeless rebuilding project. That's not him dragging an inexperienced roster from the basement and trying to turn them into contenders overnight. This would be LeBron stepping into an organization that already has serious pieces in place, and that's exactly where critics will start throwing around the ring-chasing label.
Did it surprise you that he prioritized winning another championship? Because he used that word in his statement, winning a championship, bringing a championship to Philadelphia. Like, there were a lot of potential reasons that he could have made a decision. He could have made a decision based on family, stayed on the West Coast, gone to Golden State, nostalgia, go back to Cleveland, even to Miami. But he seemed to make this purely for basketball reasons. It was not, as he wrote, about his family. It was not about money, 2-year, $8 million deal. I do love there's a 15% trade kicker in there.
Yeah, you know.
Like, just to make sure, in case you decide to trade me,
I will get
I'm
a
going to
little
get
money.
600 grand
I will
out
get a
of
little
that.
money
I'm gonna
because,
take
you know, that's
600
600 grand. I'm a billionaire, but that 600 grand will really mean something.
Their argument will be simple. LeBron isn't just searching for an opportunity. He's searching for the most favorable opportunity available. There's a difference. Nobody should realistically expect a 41-year-old LeBron to carry a franchise for an entire season like the MVP version of himself did in his prime. Those days required an insane physical workload, and expecting that same player now would make no sense. But here's the catch. When your name is constantly involved in the greatest player ever debate, people are going to judge your moves differently. That's part of the territory. So if LeBron voluntarily joins a roster loaded with high-level talent because he believes it gives him the strongest shot at another ring, critics are absolutely going to call it ring chasing.
And in Philly, at least, if it works, again, if it works, they have the chance to be a huge powerhouse. If he had gone to the Warriors, that would have been very clearly about like, hey man, it is fun to be an NBA player. It is fun to be LeBron James. I'm going to hang out, play golf every day with Steph Curry because I now love golf. I'm going to drink with Draymond because we live near Napa now. And I'm going to be 45-minute flight from my family. And this is the way to do it. I've earned this. And I would have understood that too. And it would have been fun playing for Steve Kerr, who he loved playing for at the Olympics. That I would have gotten. This I get. The actual Cleveland and Miami, I would have certainly understood the storyline, but I don't think it would have led him to as much happiness.
Nichols also brought up another issue that could turn into one of the messiest parts of this entire experiment: Jaylen Brown's buy-in. She questioned whether Brown would truly be comfortable with LeBron arriving in Philadelphia and potentially changing the team's hierarchy. And that's a fair basketball question, because when somebody with LeBron's status walks through that door, nothing stays normal. The offense can change. Roles can change. Locker room dynamics can change. Media coverage explodes. Expectations shoot through the roof. Suddenly, everybody has to figure out how they fit alongside one of the most influential players the league has ever seen.
Were you in Paris? I don't think you were, right?
No.
So I was at the Paris Olympics, and one of the things that really struck me that he said after they won was it felt really great to play for something again. And he said it again when he got back and gave his introductory press conference for his first time back with the Lakers after winning the gold medal. He said it a second time. It felt really great to play for something again.
If Brown is completely bought in, Philadelphia could look scary. But if there's friction over touches, leadership, roles, or who gets to control the biggest moments, things could get awkward fast. That's why Brown's role in this hypothetical setup matters so much. Because if the Sixers don't win, the blame game would get nasty. People might point toward Embiid's health. They might question whether Brown adjusted. Maxey could get dragged into it. People could say Edgecombe wasn't ready. Nick Nurse could take heat for rotations or chemistry. But sooner or later, attention would swing back toward LeBron. Because under this scenario, LeBron chose this destination. He chose Philadelphia. He chose this roster. He chose the Eastern Conference. He chose this championship window. So if the whole thing goes sideways, critics aren't going to accept the argument that LeBron simply got stuck in another bad situation. That's what would make this move different from several other chapters of his career. He wouldn't be arriving in Philadelphia because there were no other doors open. He'd be going there because he believed it offered one of his strongest remaining chances to grab another championship, and that would send the pressure through the roof. Just compare Philadelphia with the other destinations people could imagine. Cleveland would give LeBron the full circle story, returning to the place where everything started. Miami would bring another emotional reunion with the franchise that helped shape a massive part of his legacy. Golden State would create pure chaos because of Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, Steve Kerr, and the image of LeBron joining another iconic organization late in his career. Philadelphia would represent something different. This wouldn't mainly be about nostalgia or writing a sentimental final chapter. The argument would be about winning. It would be about finding a roster with enough talent already in place to give LeBron one more serious shot at a championship. That's also why the idea that LeBron simply wants to be happy won't completely silence his critics. Of course, happiness matters. His family matters. And after everything he's earned throughout his career, nobody seriously needs to pretend money is the only thing driving every decision. But when the destination also happens to look like one of the stronger championship opportunities on the table, people are naturally going to question the timing and motivation behind it. And then there's Luka Doncic, which makes this whole narrative even more uncomfortable for LeBron's supporters. For years, the Lakers were viewed as LeBron's territory. He was the central figure, the biggest voice, and the superstar everything seemed to revolve around. But once Luka became the centerpiece of the Lakers' future, the power dynamic changed completely. Suddenly, LeBron wasn't automatically the center of the franchise's long-term plan anymore. The Lakers had another superstar they could build around for years, and that created a reality LeBron hadn't dealt with very often during his career. The organization could start looking beyond the LeBron era while he was still standing right there. Suddenly, LeBron wasn't automatically the unquestioned face of the Lakers anymore. The organization had Luka Doncic, a younger superstar they could potentially build around for the next decade. And to LeBron's critics, that represented a major shift, the moment his grip on the direction of the franchise appeared to loosen. So put yourself in LeBron's shoes. What do you do when your old organization starts looking toward its future while you're trying to squeeze every last championship opportunity out of your career? Critics would say you find another situation where you can still have major influence, and Philadelphia could provide exactly that. Tyrese Maxey is represented by Clutch Sports. The Sixers have major talent. Nick Nurse is there. They're in the Eastern Conference. And if all those pieces click, that roster could potentially become a championship-level machine. That doesn't prove LeBron is somehow pulling every string behind the scenes, and it wouldn't be fair to claim that without evidence. But people are absolutely going to examine how the situation lines up. And here's where the pressure gets serious. Critics aren't going to let LeBron have it both ways. If he's celebrated as a legitimate candidate for the greatest player ever, they're also going to hold him to an insanely high standard when the postseason results don't match the hype. If LeBron wants to strengthen that GOAT argument, winning still matters. Individual numbers, records, and longevity are huge parts of his legacy, but championships remain a major piece of that debate. They aren't the only measurement, not even close, but they're impossible to ignore. That's why the next 2 seasons could carry crazy weight. If Philadelphia wins 1 championship with LeBron, this move could immediately look genius. If they somehow win 2, the entire conversation gets flipped upside down. People would say LeBron spotted 1 final golden opportunity, accepted that he didn't need to dominate everything himself, adjusted his game, and helped bring championships to Philadelphia. At this age, that would add another massive chapter to an already historic career. But what if they win nothing? That's when the heat gets nasty. Imagine a Philadelphia roster featuring Embiid, Maxey, Brown, Edgecombe, and LeBron, entering the season with people expecting a championship run, only for everything to crash in the playoffs. The criticism would be non-stop. Every injury would get dissected. Every ugly playoff performance would become a headline. Every rumor about tension inside the locker room would suddenly become a massive story. And LeBron's critics would keep repeating one argument. You picked this team because it was supposed to make winning easier, and you still couldn't finish the job. Fair or not, that's the narrative he'd have to deal with. Instead of looking like one final championship masterstroke, the move could get painted as a desperate swing that didn't work. That's also why LeBron's actual role would be so fascinating. He can't approach this like he's still 27-year-old LeBron. He shouldn't need to control every possession or spend 82 games trying to prove he can carry an entire franchise on his back. If winning is really the mission, sacrifice becomes the key. Some nights, that could mean being the 3rd option. On other nights, maybe even the 4th. Embiid would need to stay healthy and dominant. Maxey would need to keep developing into an elite-level star. Brown would need to stay aggressive while feeling comfortable with his role. Edgecombe would need to defend, knock down open shots, make smart reads, and handle the dirty work. LeBron's biggest value could come from connecting all those pieces instead of trying to overpower everybody himself. But there's another problem that comes with the name LeBron James. The spotlight follows him everywhere. A teammate makes a mistake, somehow it becomes part of the LeBron conversation. The team loses, it's a LeBron story. A lineup changes, people ask what LeBron thinks. Locker room tension gets rumored. Once again, his name gets dragged straight into the middle of it. And after every important loss, somebody will ask why LeBron didn't do more. That's simply the level of attention surrounding his career, and Philadelphia would need to understand exactly what comes with that. This wouldn't be like signing a regular veteran looking for one final run. You're adding one of the most famous and influential athletes of his generation. The expectations immediately jump to championship level, and anything significantly below that could be treated as a disappointment. Rachel Nichols essentially captured that risk when she suggested Philadelphia could work spectacularly or turn into a failure. And that's what makes this scenario so dramatic. There isn't much comfortable space in between. If Philadelphia dominates and wins, LeBron adds another monster achievement to his legacy. If everything falls apart, critics will crank the ring-chasing accusations up louder than ever. And then we have to talk about the Eastern Conference. One criticism that has followed LeBron for years is the argument that his road to the finals during his Cleveland and Miami runs was easier than what he would have faced in the Western Conference. There's plenty of context behind that debate, and different eras can't be reduced to one simple talking point. But critics will still point toward the results. LeBron reached the finals at an unbelievable rate while playing in the East, and that kind of repeated final success didn't continue after he moved west. Critics see that and say the contrast tells a story. In their view, LeBron dominated the Eastern playoff picture for years, while navigating the Western Conference proved much more difficult. And now, at 41, the idea of him returning East would immediately raise eyebrows. Critics wouldn't call that random. They'd call it strategy. From their perspective, LeBron understands better than anybody that the clock is ticking. He doesn't have another decade to test different situations. He doesn't have 5 prime seasons sitting in the bank. Every postseason could represent one of his final realistic shots at another ring. So from a basketball standpoint, why wouldn't he choose the situation he believes gives him the cleanest path? That's exactly what makes this possibility so intriguing. The real debate isn't simply about whether LeBron can still play at a high level. LeBron obviously still looks capable of contributing at an extremely high level. But that's not really the biggest question anymore. The real question is whether he can win at the highest level without everything running through him. Can LeBron truly embrace playing alongside younger stars? Can he accept Embiid being the offensive centerpiece? Can he watch Maxey control the ball in huge moments? Can he accept Brown demanding his shots? And most importantly, can LeBron thrive in a system where every possession doesn't revolve around LeBron James? If the answer is yes, Philadelphia could be seriously dangerous. But if the answer is no, this whole thing could get messy fast. That's why the Jaylen Brown situation matters. That's why Embiid staying healthy matters. That's why Maxey's continued development matters. That's why Edgecombe finding his role matters. But above everything else, LeBron's willingness to sacrifice could determine how far this team actually goes. And that's the wild irony here. A player who has spent much of his career with enormous influence over the basketball, the spotlight, and the direction of his teams may now need to give up some of that control to chase another championship. If he does that and Philadelphia wins, give him his credit. But if the chemistry doesn't work, critics are going to come after this decision hard. Because in this scenario, LeBron didn't randomly land in Philadelphia. He chose this path. He chose this roster. He chose another run through the Eastern Conference. He chose one more championship chase. And if the Sixers fall short, don't be shocked when critics change the conversation from LeBron is still chasing greatness to LeBron was ring chasing. At the end of the day, that's the massive gamble LeBron would be making with the final chapter of his legacy. Winning has always been a huge part of how his career is judged. And in Philadelphia, the pressure would hit immediately. Not eventually, not 3 years from now, right now. If he wins 1 championship, the move looks smart. If he somehow wins 2, this chapter becomes legendary. But if he joins a Philadelphia roster loaded with talent, gets another opportunity in the East, and still can't bring home a championship, the questions are going to get louder. Was this really about happiness? Was it really about family? Or will critics argue it was about finding one last championship-friendly situation after the Lakers shifted their future toward Luka Doncic? That's the debate LeBron would have to settle on the court. Once the season starts, speculation only gets you so far. The roster has to perform, the chemistry has to work, and LeBron has to show he can adjust when the pressure reaches another level. Philadelphia would have the talent, they'd have the star power, they'd have the opportunity, and LeBron would have one more chance to show that even this late in his career, he can adapt, sacrifice, and still help a contender reach the top. If he succeeds, the GOAT debate gets another explosive chapter. If he doesn't, critics will keep that ring-chasing argument alive all the way into retirement. But now I want to hear from you. Is Philadelphia the perfect final championship move for LeBron, or would joining another stacked roster only strengthen the ring-chasing criticism? Drop your take in the comments and don't hold back. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with another basketball fan. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.